Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 5 in the series Resigning in a Winning Position. This is actually one that I had forgotten about, but one of the viewers, the ML Virgin, reminded me of this game. It was played in the Reykjavik Open of 2006 on the 6th of March. In the first round, white is Helgi Dam Ziska, the strongest player ever from the Faroe Islands, and black is Jan Timman from the Netherlands, a legend of the game. He was the best of the West in the 80s behind Karpov and Kasparov. Let's look what happened in this first round game. 15-year-old Ziska was white, Timman was black. e4, c5, knight f3, e6, we have a Sicilian defense. d4, c takes, knight f6, knight c3, d6, and with g2, g4, Ziska starts the Keres attack, named after the Estonian Grandmaster Paul Keres, one of the strongest players never to become world champion, and the only player to ever appear on a banknote. h6, h4, bishop e7, all theory this, rook g1, d5, bishop b5 check, and the king goes to f8, although Timman played a game later where he just simply played bishop d7, which is also a reasonable move. But king f8 is the move that's mostly played. E takes d5, knight takes, and queen takes. And here bishop e3 is the main move, but Ziska played a novelty, queen d3. Timman took the pawn on h4, so white has sacrificed a pawn for the attack. Bishop c4 hitting the queen, went back to d7, and now Ziska sacrificed a second pawn, g5, which Timman took with the pawn, and that way black's bishop on h4 is cut off from the defense. White has a strong attack for the two pawns he sacrificed. White develops another piece with bishop e3, and now Timman plays e6, e5. Not a good move. It's dangerous to open the diagonal for the bishop against black's king. He probably should have just developed a piece, for example knight c6. Queen a3 was found by the youngster, which is the best move. Queen a3 check, the king goes to g8, and the knight on d4 is hanging, so Ziska plays it to b5. Let's look at its position. Let's look at the difference in development. Yes, white has sacrificed two pawns, but he has a lot in return. All his pieces are doing something, apart from the rook on a1, but that is ready to be developed to d1 with tempo, because it will be attacking black's queen from there. And look at the black army. The bishop on h4 is cut off, the queen is vulnerable there on d7, and the rest of the pieces are still at home. White has a clear advantage, more than enough compensation for the two pawns. Timman played g4, at least reactivating his bishop on h4. Rook d1, activating his last piece with tempo on the queen. Queen c6, and now knight d6. The strongest move in the position. White now has strong pressure against f7. Black can try and do something about that pressure against f7 with bishop e6. That's not what Timman played. Let's just quickly look at his variation. Then we have bishop takes e6, f takes e6, and a very strong queen b3. Looking again at that weak e6 pawn. Queen d7 is possible to protect the pawn, but then there is knight takes b7, that knight is protected, and the queen is also attacked by the rook on d1. So for example, queen f7, but then there is knight d8 hitting the queen, queen f5 for example, then knight takes e6, and if then black plays knight c6, white has got his pawns back and is winning. He has too many threats. For starters, there's this threat of a discovered check. So that's a variation after bishop e6. Timman did not like that move and he decided to play bishop e7 instead. It was his last move of the game, because here Ziska thought he had a winning combination with a beautiful queen sacrifice. He played knight takes f7, and it was a good move because it made his opponent Timman resign. But it was a bad move because in fact it is a losing move, and it was Grandmaster from Bosnia Ivan Sokolov who was looking at the game, standing beside the board, and after Timman resigned he showed that in fact black is winning here, and that must have been a shock to both players. So why did Timman resign? Let's have a look. The bishop on e7 is hanging, so taking the queen is the only move that makes sense. Bishop takes a3, and then winning back the queen straight away does not work. With knight takes e5 check, you can win back the queen, but then there is queen takes c4. The queen takes the piece that was given the check. Knight takes c4, and black retreats the attacked bishop to e7, and black is a piece up here, and no more threats. Yes, black is still undeveloped, but an extra piece here is enough. There's no threats from white left against the black king. So that does not work. Knight takes e5 does not work. So let's go back. Black has just taken the bishop on a3, and we saw that knight takes e5 check does not work. But here can try something else. White can try rook d8 check. And now you should not go to h7 with your king, because then white will indeed win. With rook takes a8 check, king g6, and now knight takes e5 check does win with a fork. Let's have a look. King f6, knight takes the queen, knight takes the knight back, and then b takes a3, and white is a rook up. So this is winning for white. So let's go back to the position after rook d8 check. So we just tried king h7 and saw that that does not work for black. Then white indeed wins. He ends up with an extra rook. But he could have played here bishop f8, and maybe that is the move that both players had missed. That bishop had just taken the queen on a3, but now retreats to shield the check. And this is the refutation of the queen sacrifice, because this now wins for black. Let's have a look. The only option is to win the queen back for white. Queen takes e5 check. But then, as we saw, there's queen takes c4, knight takes c4, and knight c6, for example. And black is just a piece up. And there are no more threats. There's no more attack. This is a simply winning position for black. So the bishop a3 to f8 move must have been the move that both players had overlooked. And because Timman saw that after the king h7 variation he loses, that's why he resigned, which made it resigning in a winning position. So this game went around the world as another example of a grandmaster resigning in a winning position, but it had never been such a high-profile grandmaster like Jan Timman. The game could have gone around the world as a 15-year-old beats Super Grandmaster example if Ziska had found the winning continuation. We saw that knight takes f7, the move that was played, does not work for white. But if he had taken with the other piece, it would have won. Bishop takes f7 check is the winning variation. And let's look at why that is winning. You cannot go to h7 with the king, because then there is queen d3 check, and after g6 you are checkmated on g6. So you have to get out of the check by playing king f8. And then white wins with queen b3, not an easy move to find. We'll see the point of queen b3 in a second. Black has nothing better than taking the knight, and then there is bishop g6. You threaten queen f7 mate, so the best defense is bishop e6, and it looks like you cannot take that bishop because you lose your queen, but it is the winning move. Queen takes e6 is another queen sacrifice. We saw other queen sacrifices in earlier variations. This is another one, and this one wins for white. It is a queen sacrifice because black has now bishop b4 check with a discovered attack on the queen. And after c3 shielding the check, there is queen takes e6, winning the queen. But now white still wins. Rook d8 check is the winning move. King e7, only move, and then bishop g5 check. Beautiful move. The only legal move for black now is to give back his queen, queen f6, bishop takes, king takes, but then there's rook takes h8, winning a full rook there in the corner. Both bishops are hanging. Black can get a pawn for the bishop, bishop takes c3, check. B takes e3, king takes g6, rook takes g4, and now the dust has settled. We can see that white is winning. He's material up, and black will not be able to untangle his pieces on a8 and b8, and this is a simply winning position for white. This was all, of course, very difficult to see, but if Ziska had seen all this, the game would have been famous for a different reason. Now it is famous for resigning in a winning position, and I want to thank again the viewer, the ML Virgin, for reminding me of this game. Very complicated, lots of beautiful variations, number of queen sacrifices. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were able to follow all the variations. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'm looking forward to reading your comments. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.